All right.
Kind of camera shy, so we'll see how this goes. All right, welcome to the last training of 2019 for our annual hospice specific material in person. So as you guys remember, we have our trainings that are online. That's kind of the general, all the hospital and volunteers go through. And then we have now just the hospice specific material, which is wonderful because then we can focus on just hospice stuff. The fun stuff is what I like to call it. So this training is about spirituality and the importance of spirituality within hospice care. So hospice is different in a way that we are able to provide that spiritual support and encouraged to provide that spiritual support. We'll get into what spirituality really is and kind of basing that on the patient and their family's needs. So first, let's go through our overview. The stuff at the top, the introduction to the online, that is all the stuff that's now online that we no longer have to do in here. I am going to touch on the driver safety policy only because we've had quite a few questions regarding that. So, and then we will, we have our volunteer competency, we have changed that when Joint Commission came in a few months ago now. That was one of their recommendations that we started doing. So for the volunteer competency, you remember how we used to have you fill out a form and you initialed and all that? That's gone, so that's the beauty of it. That part is gone. However, now they do recommend that we do hand washing, proper hand washing. So we will do that today at the end of our training. We'll each go into the bathroom and I get to watch you wash your hands. Okay, there is a form in your packets in front of you that has everything that I'm going to be looking at. Feel free to look that form over and review it before we go in, okay? And then we'll go over our hospice mission and such that I'm sure you guys are very familiar with at this point. Our volunteer roles, and then, oops, I forgot to update that. Then we'll get into the spirituality care and our training evaluation and feedback form. So the driver safety policy. The questions that I have had on this is, why is this necessary? Why are they requesting this now? So as a couple of us were talking about earlier in the training, we are required by Medicare to treat our volunteers as employees. And so as employees, we do have to sign this form because we are traveling for what is considered hospital business. Because even though you are out in the community and you're doing it in your own, you're driving in your own car, it's your own personal everything, you're not necessarily on company time, but your volunteer time is still considered company time. So they do request that we are, make sure that you guys fill out that form as well. Now this is something that Shauna likely sent to you in the mail. Do you guys remember receiving that, sending it back? Maybe? Yeah. Okay. Yes, you likely did, but it's the driver safety policy. Yeah. So you review the policy, you sign it, and you send it back. Okay. So that's really it. Any questions about the policy or why we have it? No? Okay.
So we should use your insurance cards here too?
Yep, insurance and driver's license.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, and that should all be kind of requested with the state at the same time. So a copy of your updated insurance card. And they, the beautiful thing about Volgistics, which is that new online training that we're using now, is that it allows us to keep track of that easier. So we get kind of, stay more on top of sending you out an email. Hey, your insurance card is going to need to be renewed, blah, 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 blah. So then you get that email that says, oh, you need to send us your new one, kind of a thing. So it allows us to stay more on top of that. So that is a beautiful thing about the online program. So we will come back to the hand hygiene. We'll do that at the end if you guys are comfortable with that, and then get through the rest of the material first. So the Crossing Rivers Health Mission. Now this is something that we have actually had it approved, I believe. What we will start doing is having, just like employees, we have our mission printed on the back of our name badges. And so if Joint Commission or state, they were to come in and they were to ask you what is Crossing Rivers Health mission, you can be like, oh yeah. Because really what they want to know is that you know where to find it.
Exactly.
Yep, so cheat all you want, okay? All right, but if you can commit it to memory, awesome. I think I might have it, almost maybe. Crossing Rivers Health provides, is it extraordinary or exceptional? Exceptional health care by extraordinary people whose highest priority is your lifetime of wellness. So you can do it. It can be done. So, but that is our hospital mission, and we will work on getting you guys little stickers to put on the back of your badges so that you have them as well.
Good.
So, okay. So, our hospice mission. This is the Crossing Rivers Health Hospice. We provide a philosophy of care whose mission is to enhance the quality of life for our patients and our families faced with a terminal illness. So we had a beautiful video put on that Jessica had made for us. That she did that at the beginning of the hospice volunteer appreciation event. So Janine, both of you saw it. You probably didn't, Chris, but remind me, and if you're interested, we can show you later. But it's a very good one. So, but it gives a nice overview of all of the services that hospice does provide to our community. So, and just a reminder, we do serve 4 counties with our hospice program. We're Almaquee, Clayton, we are obviously Crawford and Grant counties as well. So we aren't over in Grant too awful far because Grant County has their own hospice also. So I would say we're more heavily in the other 3. But I would say we are just as heavily in Iowa as we are in Wisconsin. So something to know and to think about as you volunteer with us, how much traveling you're willing to do. And make sure that you kind of keep us posted on that. Okay? So our hospice volunteer roles. These haven't changed now for some time since I've started and kind of revamped a little bit. The biggest thing is really recently we've been able to add more to our bereavement volunteering, and that's been awesome. So I'm super pumped about how well that has been going. That's been a huge success for us. Are we still working out the bugs? Yep. But you know, it's coming leaps and bounds. It really is. So thank you guys for participating in that. Our visitor volunteers, that's that in-home support. That's going and whether it's just going and holding the hand of your patient, being there, being present with them. Maybe it's reading to them. Maybe they've got to the point where they can't read anymore, and that's really meaningful to them. Even if it's the newspaper. I've had patients that I just want to read the newspaper. You know, that means more than what you know. So simple things such as that. Maybe it's just companionship. Maybe that person is really near those final hours, and they just want somebody to sit by their bedside and just be there. Sometimes families live quite a ways away and they can't get here in time. So just having that support is really important. Maybe you're helping with running errands or assisting with light meal preparations or light housekeeping. Our patients, as you likely know, they start to lose their independence and their ability to do things. And it's frustrating, very frustrating, because I can't bend over and pick up that pen that I dropped on the floor anymore. I can't do the laundry anymore, or take out the trash, or all of those things that are so everyday, normal, almost mundane parts of our lives. It becomes a huge deal for them. And I have had some patients, especially your little old ladies that have been doing it for years and years and years and years, and they're like, I'm about to lose my mind because look at my house. So those little tasks mean a lot. Maybe it's providing brief respite for the family. So that's that going in and sitting with the patient for a while the family member steps away and takes a breather. Even if it's just to go get a cup of coffee with a friend for an hour. It's important. The hard part about that brief respite care is that we cannot provide hands-on direct care to our patients, right? So if they need help getting up and going to the bathroom,
Yeah.
that's something that it gets hard for us volunteers because, and even me, I don't have the specialized training to assist with that. So even if I'm sitting with the patient for a while their loved one is out and about, you really have to kind of have a plan in place now. Okay, you know, I know your wife's gonna go have a cup of coffee with a friend, but she's only gonna be, you know, downtown, so she can get here relatively quickly. You have the phone number, you call her if they need something. She makes sure that they use the restroom before they leave, whatever that looks like. You have a plan in place. But I can tell you that for that family member, it's huge. It's huge to have that support. Okay?
I have a question.
Yes, please.
Me with a nursing assistant background, do I do it or no?
So that gets tricky because I've had that same question before. And so the hard part is, see, with you're all employed with us, so that might give you an edge. Let me double check because that makes, because I would have to have some sort of like, be able to show that you're competent to do that kind of a thing.
I haven't done it for years, but
Obviously,
I went to school for nursing assistant years ago.
So, let me talk with Laura and see what her thoughts are on it. It gets tricky because we've even had, and we've had volunteers that are even retired nurses that say, well, obviously I could do this. So it gets hard for us because I know you want to help, and I would be like, yeah, please just do it, you know. But following the rules, we would have to have some sort of a competency of some sort. But I don't know what that would have to look like. So let me check into it with Laura a little bit more. Maybe it's something that she'd be willing to dive into for us so that we can provide a little bit more of that. So, okay, great question. Bereavement volunteers. So, as you know, we've started the bereavement phone calls. That's been going well. That's right now, we've got it at every 2 weeks. And as you know, if you were there, so Chris, we're possibly going to be moving with the new year, maybe even every week. We'll see. Because we've got enough phone calls being made that it does take them a little while to get through them. So we'll see. We'll see what the need is. And the hard part is it changes with our census. Sometimes you have a period of time where you have a lot of deaths, and then sometimes you have a period of time when there's very few. So we're kind of, again, we're working the bugs out. We also have our hospice newsletter, our grief support newsletter that goes out quarterly. So just so that you guys are familiar with it and know what that is, you can always find it. We try to keep it down at the front desk here at the hospital. So if you're ever curious and would like to look at it, please by all means grab one. Or if you even would like to be on the mailing list for it, we're happy to send it out to you. So that comes out quarterly. This has really nice articles in it about grief and bereavement, but it also sometimes about our hospice program and tips and such, but also sometimes resources as well. But also on the back of it always has our grief support group information, which is awesome because, and that's usually the most updated information. We do have some that goes out in the newspaper and that kind of thing. But if there's ever changes, the grief support newsletter is usually the most updated because that's something that we put out ourselves. So, and that has the topic of the month, where it meets, where the grief group meets, what time and such. So I can find that information there. And then, let's see here. So if you ever want to attend a grief group, just to be present to provide additional support to that, to the families and the patients, well, or to the families and of patients, as well as just community members. We actually have a pretty good attendance of just community members that are going through grief that attend our grief groups, which is really pretty phenomenal. So if you want to help with any of that, please feel free. We're happy to have you. The more hands, the better. It also just kind of helps sometimes to have another support person there. Okay. And then our Candlelight Memorial Service, so we're really looking forward to that this year. That will be December 10th from, yes, yeah. So if you're interested in providing any support during that day, let me know. We had a sign-up sheet that went around, and I can certainly bring that in if you guys are interested. So, but yes, that'll be from 3 to 6 here at the hospital. There'll be a prayer service at 5 o'clock. All right, then we have our office and general task volunteers. And remember, you can dabble in each of these areas if you want. Really, they are crucial to the efficiency of our staff. I can't express that enough. I know it sounds like, oh, but we're just folding newsletters, or we're just sending out mailings, or we're just assembling folders, or we're just folding up blue pads. That stuff is huge. It's huge because it really helps our staff to be more efficient, so that the nurses can come in and they can grab a packet of blue pads and they can get out the door. It allows us to be able to do those things much more efficiently. And then the newsletters, like, that takes time. It takes a lot of time to send those bad boys out. So we appreciate those tasks as well. And lastly, we have our special projects volunteers. I kind of like to call this category the catch-all, because it's a little bit of everything else. So whether it's you're good at knitting or crocheting and you make lap blankets for hospice patients, we've had people do that. It's pretty awesome. So we have a stash of lap blankets that we can give out to hospice patients and families, which is really nice. Or maybe you're good at baking and you want to make the cakes or whatever, all of that stuff, okay? And then assistance with fundraising and outreach events. We've had volunteers do that as well, and that's been really helpful too, because you guys know quite a bit about our program. You really do, or at least we hope you do. And if you don't, please let me know, because then I'm not doing my job. So, okay. But yeah. So now let's get into the nitty-gritty of today, the importance of spiritual care within hospice. So, there are 3 areas of comfort that we focus on in hospice care. You guys probably remember this from your initial training with me, right? Yes, nod your heads. Very good. Very good. We focus on 3 areas of comfort. That first one being that physical comfort. We want to make sure that the patient is as physically comfortable as they possibly can be. All right, that is a lot of times our nurse is kind of our central point person for that job. Okay, they're going to be assessing for pain, and they're going to be addressing any medications that need to be used and any other symptoms that that patient may be experiencing, whether that's nausea or shortness of breath. And we want to make sure that we are trying to remedy these situations and making that patient as comfortable as possible, whether it's through providing additional home medical equipment, whether that be oxygen, getting them that oxygen support, or a cushion for their bottom, because a lot of times our hospice patients are sitting for long periods of time because they can't stand anymore. So making sure that we've got all of that stuff to make things a little bit easier and more comfortable for them. A bedside commode, you know, makes life a lot easier when getting to the bathroom is a tedious task. Okay, and then of course all of the medications that they use for all of the symptoms as well. So the nurses are very good at what they do. I am beyond blown away with the expertise of our nursing staff. So I think they're fantastic at what they do, and they really do a great job of making sure that patients physically comfortable. The next is that emotional support, that emotional comfort. And that's a lot of what myself and Haley, it's a lot of what we do. We want to make sure that that patient and the family, because remember, within hospice care, we see the patient and the family as one unit of care, right? The reason for that is because it takes a whole family a lot of times to go through this. So, that being said, we want to make sure the patient and the family feel emotionally supported through this as well. It's a hard thing to go through. They say it's actually the most stressful thing a family ever has to endure. So, that being said, we want to make sure that we're addressing that, giving them providing that emotional support, whether that's through life review and just being there, whether that's through resources and support that way. Maybe it's additional grief resources, and it's following up afterwards, right? Back in my previous life, I worked in mental health, and I provided a lot of support that way. So I know the importance of therapy and those mental health resources and what they can do for a person as well. So if it gets to that point, making sure that we're giving referrals out for that stuff as well. So, and then of course that psychoeducation piece. A big part of it is kind of keeping them informed of what's going on. Some of them have never dealt with it before. So some of us that have been in the medical field or have experienced it personally, we know that it how scary it can be for family members that haven't seen it before and don't know what's going on. Because they really don't know what they're looking at or what they're even looking for or what that even means. So, okay. And then lastly is that spiritual comfort. This is prayer, scripture, visits of spiritual support, whether that's from clergy or church leaders, or maybe it's spiritual rituals. Maybe it's just getting out in nature. Maybe that's their spiritual support. That's what spiritual support is to them. Maybe it's meditation. Meditation is actually quite powerful when practiced properly. It's very hard to practice, I will tell you that. Or Reiki. We are very, very fortunate because we have volunteers in our hospice program that provide Reiki. So, and I can tell you that I actually have a hospice patient that Reiki, that is for spiritual support. That's what she wants. Sorry, what?
What is Reiki?
Yes, Reiki is, let's see here. It's very difficult to explain. It's almost like a practice of meditation basically through channeling energy, kind of a thing. It's very calming. Usually the individual would lie down or at least assume a very comfortable position. And it's by kind of placing your hands kind of over or on that person and kind of helping them to kind of direct their energy. It's just very calming. Usually there's very calm music that kind of goes along with it. I was kind of skeptical, I'm going to be honest. Myself, the first time I ever heard about Reiki, I was like, okay, you know. But one of our volunteers came in and said, no, I'm going to do it to you. I'm going to offer it to your whole hospice staff so that you know what it is that we're offering. And I was like, that's awesome. Okay, great. So we all tried it, and it was calming. I will be honest. It was very like, at first you're kind of like, this is weird. But it was, once you actually kind of settled into it, it was very peaceful. So some people really, really enjoy it. So it's awesome that we're able to offer it. So, all right, so let's talk a little bit about the difference between spirituality and religion, because there is a difference. Spirituality is the quality of being concerned with the human spirit or soul as opposed to material or physical things. Okay? Now, religion is the belief in and worship of a superhuman controlling power, especially a personal god or gods. Okay? This is a particular system of faith and worship. So religion is going to be more so, spirituality I would say is more general, and religion is going to be your more specific, organized, whether it's a church or a faith base. Okay? Does that make sense? Do the differences make sense? Mm-hmm. So just because we're providing spiritual support does not mean that we're providing religion. Maybe religion is that person's spiritual support, and then absolutely we can dive right into that. But we do have to make sure that we're providing spiritual support, not necessarily only religion. Does that make sense? You have to be open to how broad spirituality truly is. Okay, so there are three primary needs that we have as human beings when it comes to spirituality. The first is meaning and direction. So some of the questions associated with this is, what is my purpose? Why am I here? And where am I going? Makes sense, right? I would think no matter what your spiritual base is, those are 3 core things that we wonder, right? The second is self-worth and belonging. We have to feel connected, right? So, does my life have value? What is the meaning of life? You can see that these are pretty exploratory questions here, right? And what is my role? Where do I fit into all of this connectivity, right? And then what does it mean to be human? Big questions. But you can see that none of these questions pertain specifically to any particular religion. They're very broad. Lastly, reconciliation. To love and to be loved. So, a big part of that, human connection. We are social beings, right? Okay. So, what have I done in my life? Has what I have done in my life mattered? And how so? And how do I seek forgiveness for my wrongdoings? Because we are human and we do make mistakes, right? Okay. So this is, Haley actually had the opportunity to take a spirituality course, and it was an 8-week course, I believe. So this is a lot of the stuff that they explored within that class. So she brought a lot of really good material back to us. So this is where a lot of this is coming from. So there are 4 fundamental questions of life when it comes to spirituality. The first being origin. Where did I come from? Secondly, meaning. Why am I here? Third, morality. How should I live? And 4th, destiny. Where am I going? So, as the social workers, as you guys are aware, we no longer have our hospice chaplain, right? As the social workers, we are the ones then that actually do a spiritual assessment, okay? It's just part of our psychosocial assessment. We just now do a psychosocial and spiritual, so it's all kind of combined. In that assessment, that's how we kind of determine what that patient's spirituality is and how we can best support that patient. Is there anybody that we can bring in as far as like area clergy or anything of that nature? Maybe it's Reiki support. What can we do to best support that patient, but also that family, right? So the big thing here is knowing the difference between spirituality, or I apologize, between a spiritual assessment and a spiritual screening, because there are differences, okay? An assessment, this is a more extensive process. This is something that requires active listening to a patient's story as it unfolds in a relationship with a professional chaplain, or us, so as social workers in this case, and summarizing the needs and resources that emerge in that process. The summary includes a spiritual care plan, which we do for each and every single one of our patients. So there is a spiritual aspect to all of our care plans, okay? That's very specific to that patient, okay? The summary includes a spiritual care plan with expected outcomes, which should be communicated to the rest of the treatment team, okay? Now the difference between that and a screening is that a screening is a quick determination of whether a person is experiencing a serious spiritual or religious crisis, okay? And therefore needs immediate referral to a professional chaplain of sorts, okay? Good models of spiritual religious screening employ a few simple questions which can be asked in any healthcare professional in the course of an overall screening. So really this is something that we should be kind of doing all the time as that care team. You know, is there anything causing spiritual distress? And if so, what can we do to help throughout that process. So maybe it's a referral to the area clergy, because maybe it's more support than what we can provide, so we need to look elsewhere. Maybe it's something just as simple as I need some prayers read to me. Okay, maybe, or I need, maybe I need to get Father in here and anointment of the sick needs to be done. Okay, what is it that that person needs to provide that spiritual comfort? Maybe it's that person needs a breath of fresh air outside. And if they can't get outside, what can we do to bring nature into them? Can we bring some plants in? Can we bring, what can we do? So, okay, a screening is something that we don't necessarily expect that you guys do a formal screening, but we do expect you to do a screening of sorts, in the fact that if you notice something, that if you don't feel comfortable or you feel it is out of your realm to provide that kind of support, you let us know, so that we can make sure that we're referring out and getting those needs met. So maybe your patient says to you, oh, I just don't know, I just can't, I'm scared, or I can't find that meeting anymore, like when is this going to be over with? Those are pretty big questions, right? And really, even no matter how good we are in the medical realm, we can't pinpoint exactly when that time is coming. What does that person usually need? Some sort of faith. Whatever that looks like to them, they need some sort of faith. So it's exploring that more and figuring out how we can provide that. So, okay, does that make sense?
Yes.
Awesome. All right. So let's talk a little bit more about your role specifically, which within spirituality and providing that support to patients. Okay. So your role is to provide spiritual support to your comfort level and to the comfort level of your patient and family. Okay? If you're a very spiritual person, and let's say you're Christian and the family you're assigned to is very Christian, and you're comfortable providing prayer or providing support that way, by all means, please. That is absolutely okay in hospice. This was so weird to me when I came in, because in where I was at before, social work, you stay out of religion. It's just something you just stay out of it. That's, coming in here, it's like, oh, like it's okay. This is okay. And it is. It's very different, but it's also very comforting. And you really do have to be comfortable with it yourself. It took me a little while to get there. Have I always had my own spiritual base? Yep. But did I always leave that just kind of to myself? So now being able to share that a little bit more with the appropriate patients and families, it's pretty cool. So, all right, let's see here. It is essential that you know the spiritual background of your patient prior to providing spiritual support, obviously, right? We don't want to go in and assume that this person's Catholic and really they're atheist and they want nothing to do with it. It wouldn't be good, right? So, the big thing is, so if you are somebody and you are comfortable in providing spiritual support, let us know. The more we know about you in that area, the better we can connect you with patients and families that you could be a good support to. Does that make sense? So if you're comfortable in providing that support and you want to provide that support, please let us know so that we have a good idea of where you're at with it, so we can assign you appropriately, okay? If you ever feel uncomfortable with the spiritual beliefs or background of your patient or family, because of course, we're human too and we have our beliefs, and maybe theirs are completely different than ours. We want to know. Or if you're uncomfortable in discussing spiritual issues or providing spiritual support, please contact us to address this further. So, we don't ever want to put you in a situation that you're not comfortable with. And please know that just because you're assigned to a patient or a family, it doesn't mean forever. if you say, okay, I went in and I met Susie and I just don't know, or maybe it's your spiritual beliefs, maybe it's just different personalities. It just doesn't seem to, I'm concerned that we're not a good match. That's okay. If you're not, we're human. There are people that I don't mesh with, we all have our different personalities. So let us know and we will work to get a different person assigned that may be a better match than for that patient or family. Okay? And we can pull you out. So don't ever feel like you have to be in a situation that you're not comfortable in. Okay? Let's talk a little bit about the do's and don'ts of spiritual care. Okay, this is always kind of a little thing here, per patient family preference. Okay, that's always what it is, all right? So, it's okay to pray with the patient or the family. That's all right. Like I said, if you're comfortable with it, great. Another do. It's okay to read from spiritual books per their preference. Now, if you say, oh, I've got this wonderful... You aren't meant to wear that today, Janine, I don't think. So, another thing, let's see here. So maybe it's maybe you have a lovely daily devotional. I have one that's specifically for women, and I've taken that in for a lot of my women patients and read some of that to them, and they've really enjoyed it. Again, it's got to be based on what their beliefs are, what their belief system is as well. But you can always offer it. You can always offer it as long as it's within that realm. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So, provide Reiki or other non-conventional spiritual supports. That's absolutely okay as well, especially if they're open to it. If you have somebody, especially our patients that maybe don't have any formal spiritual support or religion, it's okay to kind of offer other things. More of those whether it be Reiki, maybe it's something like meditation or getting out in nature. I've had patients that said, my form of religion is human connectedness and feeling connected to the people around me. Awesome. What can we do to get you more of that? Okay. Let's see here. Assist the patient to engage in nature. Again, like maybe it's just wheeling them outside. Okay. Preferably when the weather is a little nicer. Maybe it's assisting the patient with spiritual rituals or services. So maybe this patient hasn't made it to church in a long time. They'd really like to go. But they know that they're weaker. They're afraid of not being able to stand and do all of the things that, is usually part of that, right? Maybe it's you, as long as, we arrange transportation. You can't drive them, of course. As long as we arrange transportation or the family drives them or whatever, you can assist them to those services. We've had before where volunteers we've lined up transportation through either the ADRC or Northeast Iowa Community Action with their wheelchair accessible vehicles. And the volunteer kind of rides along as that support person and assists them in and out of whatever the event is that they're going to. That's absolutely a possibility, you guys. If you have an idea and you want to do it, let us know. We'll try to support you in it the best that we can. That's the beauty of being a volunteer, is you have a little bit more of that flexibility that we don't always have. So, go hog wild. We'll try to do everything we can to support you, okay? Be respectful of their beliefs. That goes without saying, I feel like, right? And if they conflict with your own and you're not comfortable with that, let us know, okay? And then report any concerns to us, okay? All right, some of the don'ts, the no-nos. Don't proselytize, right? Okay. Any questions about what that is even? No. Don't make assumptions. Have you heard of compassionate curiosity? Does that ring a bell for anybody? No? Okay. Compassionate curiosity essentially means it's okay to ask questions. As long as you're not prying into their business necessarily. A lot of people take it very well if you're asking questions because you want to understand better. Now, if you're asking questions to be nosy, that's a whole nother realm. Mm-hmm. But if you're asking questions because you genuinely want to understand better, that's wonderful. Because chances are they want to share their beliefs with you just like you would want to share your beliefs with them. So, being compassionately curious is okay. All right? But don't make assumptions. It's okay to ask the questions, just don't assume. Okay? Don't engage in spiritual practice you are uncomfortable with. So maybe you don't have, maybe let's say you're not Christian, and they say, I need you to pray with me, and they take your hands, and they're expecting you to engage in a prayer with them, and you aren't having it, it's okay. It's okay to say, oh, it's not my beliefs. I thank you for wanting to include me, but that's not my beliefs, but I can certainly get somebody in here that can better support you in that. That's very appropriate, okay? Don't feel as though you have to have all the answers. Spiritual questions, as you saw, are some pretty big questions. And a lot of times there aren't answers, not specific answers. We're not necessarily meant to have the answers. Because really, if you think about it, in our short lives, we think we live for a long time, but really in all reality, our lives are relatively short. We don't have enough time to get everything figured out. And we don't expect that you guys know all of the answers. So it's all right to be like, I don't know. And just explore it with them. And it's okay to say, you're right, it does suck. Tell me what you're looking forward to. Tell me about, say they're talking about heaven. Tell me what you're looking forward to in heaven. What do you think it looks like? Let them explore it with you. Let them kind of answer it in the way that they kind of see it, or with the way that they're hoping for. Because really that's the biggest thing of all of this, I think. That overreaching thing is really hope. That's what they need. And that's what spirituality can provide, is that hope. Because we don't necessarily have those in concrete, solid answers, right? Don't share the private details of your patient's spiritual conversations unless concerns arise. That's a private conversation they had with you, and there's something about their connection with you that made them want to share that. There was something about your relationship that they said, I trust you, and I'm going to trust you with some of my deepest, most inner spiritual thoughts. You don't even have to share that with us if you don't feel that it's appropriate. That's okay, because they trusted you with that information. If there's concerns, of course, please let us know. Please let us know. If there's concerns, we want to support them, so we want to explore that more, okay? But if it's just something where they're just sharing their spiritual thoughts and no concerns arise, it's a pretty privy conversation, I would say. Right? Any questions about spiritual support in hospice? I went through this pretty quickly.
Nice job.
Thank you. So, that being said, if today you guys have any thoughts on if and what you feel comfortable providing, and you want to let me know that, so I can take note, that's wonderful. You don't have to, however, that's fine. Just so that you know, the more we know, the more we can more so align you with somebody of similar interests, okay? Alrighty, so lastly, we will do our hand hygiene competency, okay? I'll have you fill out the questionnaire feedback form for me, alright? As well as we'll go through and have you fill out the the agenda here for me, guys. So if you could please put your name at the top, and date and initial. We went through everything today so far, up until, the only thing we haven't done so far is the hand hygiene competency, but we'll do that right now. So make sure you fill out those forms and sign at the bottom, and then I will sign them as well, and then you have officially completed your in-person hospice training, and it's only 3:26.